is up, YouTube? Back at you with another video. And much to a couple of people's chagrin, Congress didn't even look into bonfire stocks. I know a couple people in the wake of the Las Vegas mass shooting were telling Congress, hey, you need to ban these things or at least regulate them. And Congress wouldn't even touch the bill. They were just like, nope, don't care. Bye-bye. Now, for a lot of hardcore gun enthusiasts, they're like, fuck yeah! You know what I'm saying? But for a lot of people who hate guns, or for the people who lost family members to that incident, for a lot of people who just hate guns in general, they were like, oh, are you serious? Okay. What I'm going to say may be controversial, but hear me out. Before I say that, I want to say that in this video, I mean no disrespect to the victims of that shooting. That was a horrible incident in American history. Much like 9/11, the Pulse nightclub shooting, the Sandy Hook shooting, now I got this Las Vegas shooting, man, it's just one more tragedy in American history, you know. But guns don't kill people, people kill people. The reason I say that is because a bonfire stock is just that, a bonfire stock. In order to actually get it to function, you have to physically pick it up, attach it to your gun, and then use it. Okay, a gun is not going to move on its own. Okay? Guns do not move on their own. They require a human hand. And as guns and bonfire stocks are human-made inventions, ergo, I'll say it again, guns don't kill people, people kill people. There are no evil guns, only evil people. Now notice, nobody complains when an AR-15 is being used by the U.S. military to defend our freedom. Nobody says shit when the FBI is using AR-15s to catch the bad guy, you know. But the minute an AR-15 is used to shoot up a nightclub or an elementary school, all of a sudden people are like, AR-15s are just evil guns, you know. Now when bonfire stocks are being used by responsible, law-abiding gun owners, nobody says shit, nobody cares. Some people might scratch their head and go, why would you need something like that for your gun? It doesn't make any sense. And some people get it, some people don't, you know. But the minute it's used irresponsibly to pull a mass shooting, you know, to pull a tragedy as such, all of a sudden people have a problem with it. You know, now, you may be one of those Americans that loves your guns, you love Jesus, and you love your truck, and you hate Muslims. And if you're one of those Americans that loves Jesus and your gun and your truck, and you hate Muslims because they're all terrorists and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me just stop you right there for a second, Slick. If you're one of those gun owners that hates Muslims because you think they're all terrorists, you fail to realize that you and the Muslims are united. Although you come from different backgrounds, you still have one thing in common. You notice that with guns, any mass shooting is going to be that asshole ruining it for everybody. Am I right? Yes. when it comes to guns in America, it's always that one asshole that's just like fed up with everything, and hashtag fuck mass shootings. I'm so tired of innocent lives being taken, and I'm sick and tired of guns being made to look bad. Blaming guns for mass shootings, that just seems like an easy scapegoat to me. It seems like it's an easy enough solution that everybody, for the most part, seems to get or agree with. But if there's roughly 318 million gun owners in America, and these kinds of mass shootings don't really happen that often, I tend to think if guns were the problem, we'd know about it, considering how many Americans actually own guns. And, well, I also tend to think that, like I said, blaming guns for our society's problems, it's no different than saying, oh, the music made me do it, or this violent video game made me do it. It's no different. You know what I'm saying? Because a gun is an inanimate object, period. Doesn't matter how you shape it, that would be no different than if you were to stick a fork in an outlet, and as soon as you did that, you get electrocuted. All of a sudden, you're on this anti-fork, anti-wall outlet tangent about how we need to ban these things because they're dangerous. It'd be no different. Okay, if you're stupid enough to stick a fork in an outlet and get electrocuted, that's your fault. That's not the fork's fault. That's not the company who makes the fork's fault. That's not the outlet's fault. It's not the company who makes the electrical outlet's fault. That is your fault, plain and simple. I do think that we do need better background checks for firearms. I will say that. And for accessories like bumfire stocks. There needs to be some regulation put into place for stuff like this. Yes, I will agree to that. But banning bumfire stocks just because you think that that'll stop shootings and shit. Banning a part to a firearm is not going to make the problem go away. If anything, it's going to make it worse. Now, if you saw one of my more previous videos where I talked about how making things illegal doesn't necessarily stop a person from being able to get a hold of them. And that's exactly my point. If you make bumfire stocks illegal, all of a sudden you're creating more revenue for black market criminals to make money. Because you think if you make certain guns illegal, that'll just put a stop to everything. It doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It just means that, okay, when you make anything illegal, you're making it easier for the criminal to get a hold of. That's why I think we need looser gun laws, but stricter background checks. You know what I'm saying? Because technically speaking, yes, unless you're in the right state, fully automatic machine guns. I mean, some states, if you're military and, certain circumstances, yes. But I think that some of these firearms bans are stupid. Now, you got a law-abiding citizen, and this is a big what-if scenario. But if you have a home invasion situation, and the bad guy has some sort of fully automatic machine gun, and the good guys only got a pistol. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that's something that nobody wants to think about, being outgunned by the enemy. But yeah, when I found out that Congress didn't even take a look at this bumfire stock ban, they just kind of like, you know. Part of me was like, well, I'm glad that they didn't even, you know, fuck with it, because making a part for a gun illegal isn't going to stop the mass shootings. It's not going to make or do anything except, you know, piss off the people who own them responsibly, you know. And that's just the thing of it. Like I was saying earlier, assholes ruin it for everybody, you know. You got these people who call themselves Muslim, and then they do the extremist terrorist attacks on other people, and it makes all Muslims look bad. And the situation is really no different with guns. You know, you have your honest, hardworking, responsible American gun owner, and that one crazy asshole that has too many guns, or whatever the case may be, you know. It's always that one crazy asshole with a gun that's going to make you look bad. It's going to make me look bad, you know. And when there's a lot of responsible gun owners out there, they get overshined. They get overshined by these people who commit these atrocious crimes. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic. It doesn't matter what your religion is. None of that shit matters. Because as humans, there's only a couple things that we have in common. Every human bleeds the same color of blood. Doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. You know, none of that shit matters. Every human feels emotion to some degree. And every human has to deal with that one asshole that ruins it for them in their group. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Assholes ruin it for everybody. It doesn't necessarily have to pertain to guns or Muslims. It could pertain to just about anything, you know. And if you really break it down, as simple as that, you know. Again, I'm sorry I haven't been on YouTube very much, but, you know, some of the shit YouTube's been doing has been making me a little unhappy. And, you know, sometimes I run out of stuff to talk about on my channel, so it's like, what the fuck do I do, you know? All I can do is smoke my pipe and ponder. That's all I can do, YouTube, is smoke my pipe and ponder. And like I said earlier, you might be one of those Muslim hating Americans that loves your guns. But you fail to realize that these Muslims, you hate all of them as one because of the few assholes that ruined it for them. That would be no different than someone coming up to you and saying, I fucking hate guns and gun owners because they're all the fucking same. Blah, 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 you know. How would you feel about that? You'd be on the defensive, wouldn't you? You'd be like, no, hey, wait a second, that ain't fair. Not all of us are like that. And then you'd be sitting there going, wait a second. You're the kind of person that's hating on another group because of what some assholes did. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I get it now. This is the kicker of it, YouTube. Sexism exists in both sexes. Racism exists in all races. That is the kicker of it. I know there's this negative stereotype that only white men can be sexist, but guess what? That is not the truth. There is sexism in both sexes. There are women who are sexist and there are men who are sexist. But here's the kicker of it. If a man tries to complain about unfair sexist treatment towards the male gender, we get the whole spew of, well, you're not a woman, so you don't know how it feels. And that's so goddamn frustrating. Instead of being like, okay, I can relate to that because I've gone through that shit too, you're sitting there making it into a fucking contest of who suffered more, and that doesn't solve anything. I fucking hate that shit. And it's the same thing for racism too. Like, I feel like if a white person tries to complain about racism, we get the same spew of, well, you don't know what it's like. And truth of it is, we don't, But the thing of it is that racism happens to every race to some degree. Unfortunately, it will happen to one race more than another. That is unfortunate, yes. But it happens to everybody at least once. And instead of uniting as people under that circumstance of, okay, it's happened to me too, I feel your pain, instead, people are stuck telling other people, you don't know how it is because you're not me. You don't know how it is because you're not like me. Or you don't know how it is because you haven't seen the shit I've seen. I fucking hate that. Whenever a human tries to express, an emotion towards a certain situation, when a human tries to express a certain emotion towards the situation, and they get told, oh, you're not allowed to because you don't go through the same struggles that we do, blah, blah, blah. And that's such bullshit, dude. It really is. And what I'm getting at is every human struggles to some degree. Every human goes through some sort of struggle on a daily basis. Every human suffers and struggles to some degree. Instead of comparing sob stories, like one person says, man, fuck this shit, this, and this happened. And then someone else chimes in, oh, you don't know the half of it. I went through this, and this, and this. And someone else chimes in, both of you don't know how hard it is. I went through this, and this, and this. And someone else chimes in, and it never fucking stops. You know what I'm saying? Humans struggle on a daily basis to some degree. And instead of comparing sob stories, instead of saying to other people, you don't know how hard it is. You're not me. Yeah, that's stupid. Comparing sob stories isn't going to get anybody anywhere. Instead of separating one another, that's what you're doing. You're separating from one another when you do that. Instead of uniting under the simple fact of you're human, you struggle, it sucks, life's a bitch, get over it. Instead of uniting under that concept, you're separating yourselves. Second thing, I got 2 news stories I want to talk about very briefly on YouTube, give you my 2 cents on it, leave it at that. The first news story, I was watching a video from the series Think Tank. It's part of the TYT series, also known as the Young Turks. And sometimes when people post their life experience on social media, sometimes their stories go viral because people see those stories and they think, ain't that some shit? Well, this particular story comes from a woman whose profession is to paint faces at parties. Okay? Which is a very, very common profession. I mean, if you're good enough at it, you can make some decent money. You know, you go to little kids' birthday parties and paint their faces. That's an honest living, and it's a great way to meet new people and socialize and what have you. So, okay. This woman whose job it was to paint faces at parties, she took to Twitter to talk about what had happened at a party. Okay? And what had happened was there was a little kid's birthday party, and one of the guests there had their son. There was this woman and her husband and their 4-year-old son. Okay, their 4-year-old son. And they were guests at some other kid's party, whatever. And naturally, this 4-year-old boy sees a bunch of kids his own age and getting their faces painted. So what does he do? He's like, I want to get my face painted. Okay, so it's, yeah. No one's going to argue with a little kid on that. You know, little kids see people getting their faces painted. Of course, most of them are going to be like, "Hey, I want in on this shit." You know what I'm saying? All right, so the little kid with his parents goes up to this lady, and here's where the story takes place. Now you got this 4-year-old little boy and the boy's parents, the mother and the father. The little kid goes up to the clown and says, I want a blue butterfly painted on my cheek. And here's what happens. The mother tells the face painter, no, he's not getting a blue butterfly painted on his cheek. He's getting a skull and crossbones because he's a boy. I bullshit you not. And the kid's crying because he's getting told no, and he keeps telling the lady who's painting faces, I don't want a skull and crossbones on my cheek. I want a blue butterfly. And this poor lady who's just sitting there trying so hard to sympathize with this kid. And after going back and forth with it for a couple minutes, the mother decides to drag the husband into it. And naturally you think, okay, maybe the dad's going to be cool in this story, and he's going to be like, honey, he's 4. If he wants to get a blue butterfly painted on his cheek, who the fuck cares? Nope, doesn't even say that. As a matter of fact, the father agrees with the mother. And when the clown tried one last desperate attempt to sympathize with the kid, she basically got the whole spew of, well, it's not your kid, this is my kid, and what we do with our kid is our choice, and blah, 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 blah. And she took to Twitter to talk about it. And that right there is the problem with our society, YouTube. Men from a very early age are conditioned by society to be quote-unquote tough, you know. Society automatically expects men to be the tougher sex. It's bullshit. You know, society teaches men, quit your crying, you fucking pussy. Oh, did you fall down and get a scrape on your knee? Well, rub some fucking dirt in it and get over it, you know. We live in a very competitive society. You know what I'm saying? You want my honest opinion? I don't think men are tougher than women. I don't think women are tougher than men. I think there's tough individuals, yes, but I don't think one sex is particularly tougher than the other sex. I don't think that in the slightest. You know, reason I say that is because every human goes through pain. Every human goes through pain, whether it's physical or emotional. And some people are stronger and more equipped to deal with it than others. And that's no reflection on one particular sex or the other. But it just shows you, you know, and was watching this news story, YouTube. It just got me thinking how disgusting our society can truly be. I understand that life sucks. I understand that life is bullshit. And you have to toughen up at some point. I get that. But the kid was 4 years old, okay? Isn't that a little too young? You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, you have to ask yourself, okay, your kid's 4 years old. Let them have an imagination. Let them be creative and free spirits, if only for a little bit. Because trust and believe, when kids get to a certain age, they're not so free spirited. They're a little bit wiser with age, and they sort of lose that little kid innocence. You know what I'm saying? Like, they start hitting 10, 11, 12, 13. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, you start realizing, hey, that's not your little kid anymore. That's not your little baby girl or your son that you knew growing up. You know, they're changing. You know what I'm saying? And for most parents, they don't want to think about it. You know, for a lot of parents who have younger children, especially, they think to themselves, I don't want my kid to grow up. But it's going to happen. So just prepare yourself for that. The second story, I just think it's a little fucked up that some parents are like that to their children, you know? I mean, parents, not every parent does this, but a lot of parents compete with other parents through their kids, and it's disgusting. You know, YouTube, it really is. It is truly disgusting. Well, my kid can already walk and say a couple of syllables. What can your kid do? You know? And it's stupid. Like, parents can't let their kids just be kids and learn and develop at their own special pace. They gotta be. And it's like, okay, a lot of parents feel this obsessive need to compete with their kids because they think, and this is unfortunate, but a lot of parents think that if their kid doesn't do exceptionally well, it's somehow a reflection on their parenting or the way they raise their children. And that's not even the case, you know. Just because your kid doesn't learn as fast as the other kids, that doesn't mean shit about your parenting, okay? Maybe your kid learns things differently. You ever think of that? No. You're too busy thinking about yourself, and that's the problem. The second story I saw, again with the Young Turks. I've seen a story, and in France, there is this woman in France. She's a part of this gender equality something something program in Europe, and her and a bunch of her fellow gender equality people are thinking about making catcalling illegal in France. But just how illegal are they thinking about making it? Well, hold the phone, people. If this law went into effect in Paris, France, catcalling would be so illegal that one person caught doing it could face a fine and jail time. Okay. And the reason why this woman is trying to make this illegal is because she thinks that catcalling is a form of what she calls street sexual harassment. Okay, I'll give you a minute to stop laughing, because what the fuck is street sexual harassment? I mean, to be fair, European women are attractive. And if you're a heterosexual male like myself, and if you are walking through Europe and you see an attractive woman, you know, and we've all been there. We've all been hit on by people way the fuck below our league. Okay, do I like getting hit on by women that are way below my league? Fuck no, it's irritating. It's like, why can't I have someone at least moderately attractive? You know, it's shallow to think this, but I'll admit it, but I'd be sitting there like, okay, really? Why can't I have at least a moderately attractive woman hitting on me? This is bullshit. You know? But do I think they're sexually harassing me? Fuck no. And what the fuck is street sexual harassment? That's like calling something a hate crime, if you ask me. I don't think hate crimes exist to a degree. I don't think street sexual harassment exists. I think a crime is a crime and sexual harassment is sexual harassment, period. So what? If I get my driver's license and I'm stopped at a crosswalk waiting for the light to turn green, and if an attractive woman is crossing that crosswalk, and if I honk my horn from my car at her to show her I find her attractive, is that considered car sexual harassment? And that just seems a bit weird, especially for France, which is the city, or excuse me, I meant to say country, minor twist of the words. But France is the country known for love, and it just seems a bit ironic that there are people out there trying to make catcalling illegal. What is catcalling, you ask? I'll give you a very basic example. Let's say I'm walking down the street, okay? And as I'm walking down the street, crossing the crosswalk, let's say I see a woman that I would find attractive walking on the other side of the street, on the other side of the crosswalk. And if I see that woman, and if I stop and stare at her, and I go, hey baby, you like guitar players? Because I'd rock your world. That's catcalling. Basically, verbally acknowledging the attractiveness of someone else. Yeah. Now, could you imagine if catcalling became illegal in the United States of America? How stupid would that be? Every male construction worker would be in so much shit. Now, like I said, okay, I've been hit on by chicks that were way below my league, and it was gross, and I felt super uncomfortable, but it's like, And at first I didn't quite understand it, because this is the kicker of it, YouTube. Very typical high school male, but when I was in high school, I would hit on chicks way the fuck out of my league. When I was in high school, I know it's hard to believe, he said sarcastically, but when I was in high school, I would hit on chicks way the fuck out of my league. And these chicks I would hit on were always creeped out by me, like, ew, why the fuck is he talking to me? And it would always piss me off, like, what the hell, I'm a decent guy, why are these chicks acting like this around me? And I never understood it. But then I got a little bit older and a little bit wiser. One time I had this fat, ugly chick checking me out, trying to hit on me and shit. And I was just like, oh, dude, I wasn't having it. I was not having it. And all of a sudden, I had a sort of sudden realization, you know? Like, oh, fuck, that's how those chicks in high school felt when I hit on them. Man, do I feel like an ass. I wish I would have known better back then. Damn it. No, if I had a fucking time machine, YouTube, I would go back in time to my high school self and I would tell myself, bro, grow some facial hair out, focus on your guitar playing, and yeah, some of these chicks are too stuck up. They wouldn't date you anyway, so don't even worry about it. You'll find a girl eventually. Just don't even stress about this shit right now. But alas, time machines do not exist. And gender equality doesn't exist. It exists more for women than it does for men, I guarantee you. Back to what I was saying earlier, if a male complains about sexual harassment, he'll get the whole spew of, oh, you're not a woman, so you don't know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? It's so goddamn frustrating. I feel like there's a lot of things that women can... There's a lot of things that women can get away with that men can't. And if men complain about it, it's just, well, that's just double standards. That's just life. You know. That's just how it goes, man. You know, and this is just this is human analogy 101. This is human psychology 101 right here. Women can make sexual comments about other women, you know, without other women taking offense to it. Case in point, if one woman notices another woman, it doesn't matter if that one woman is bisexual, lesbian, or straight, that one woman could see the other woman has rather nice boobs. So the other woman says, damn girl, you got some nice boobs, you know what I'm saying? And most of the time, you know, if it's not threatening by any means, a lot of women won't even care. You know, if their fellow woman is acknowledging that they're attractive in some way, they take it as a compliment. But here's the kicker of it. You take that same woman with the nice boobs, and if a male stares and makes the same comments, he's considered a pervert and he's considered shallow. See what I'm saying? And like I said, that's just basic human psychology 101. How these unwritten double standards exist. How long is this video? About 38 minutes, just about. Not too terribly long. So what are your thoughts on that law? Do you think catcalling should be illegal? Yes or no? Do you think catcalling is a form of sexual harassment? It depends on how you look at it, you know. Because to me, checking somebody out. Now, if you're being creepy about staring, that's one thing, but a quick, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I mean, there's a very fine definition between being a total creep and just staring like... I'll admit I had a problem with that in high school, man. There were some chicks I went to high school with back in the day that were so goddamn attractive that staring at them was like a drug for me back in the day. Like, I couldn't get enough of it, you know, because they were that fucking hot. But I digress. There's a fine difference between checking somebody out and being a creep about it. You know what I'm saying? And maybe when I was younger, I didn't fully understand it, but now that I'm older, I kind of get the picture here, you know? And the fact of the matter is people don't like being stared at, you know what I'm saying? That's just, yeah. But instead of having a shallow attitude about it, you know, if I got chicks that are way below my league checking me out, it might gross me out for a minute or two, but at the end of the fucking day, I can say, well, they may not be the type of woman that I'm into, but at least I got chicks checking me out. I try to be somewhat modest about it, but... Well, not a whole lot more to say on this video. Now I got like 2 brand new videos on my channel. People are gonna be like, where the fuck have you been? Yeah. Anyways, this is King Cobra JFS with another video. And thank you for watching. And I'll catch you cool cobras on the flip side.